Welcome everyone. My name is Loveness Inlea and I am from Digital Wellness Africa. And today we just want to talk to you about something that's very important, a landmark policy in the land of our lovely country, Zimbabwe. And with me, I have someone who's very special. I'm going to ask her to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Edith Otete, and I'm also a co founder of Digital Wellness Africa. Very passionate about child online safety and very excited about this landmark framework that has come into being.
Mm. So, what we're talking about today is the national policy for child online protection. I don't know, I wish we could do, some sort of festival, because this has been something that has been on our hearts for years.
Mm, mm,
For years. I don't
yeah.
know. Can you, I don't know, speaking to that.
Yeah, so we started doing our work informally about 12 years ago,
Yes.
from 2014, in separate spaces, Loveness and I. But the work that we were doing, we saw it was greater than us. So we joined forces. And as we joined forces, we continue to see a need for greater protections beyond what we were doing, raising awareness and equipping different stakeholders with the right skills. And so when we look at the coming on of the Child Online Protection Framework, it is part of a greater strategy towards protecting children online. And why it is so important is because in everything that we were doing, we didn't have anything tangible to say this is our reference point as Zimbabweans. And I think, Lavin, is part of the reason why when we would go like to schools or families and face rejection was because the gravity of what we were doing was not yet appreciated. And because there was no backing, whether it's legal or regulatory, we didn't have anything to back us up to say, this is why, you know.
Mhm.
So having this policy is, I don't even know if I can call it the cherry on top of what we've
Yeah,
been doing. It's a huge
yeah,
cherry.
a
Yeah.
huge one. And one of the things that always used to get me was when we're on the ground, when we're looking at what other countries are going through, when we thought Zimbabwe still has time, our children, our Zimbabwean children still have time, we found out that no, that's not the situation at all. Literally, some of the things that were happening overseas in the developed countries were also like literally 2 months, 3 months apart. We start hearing the same things here in Zimbabwe. And when we would then talk about the safeguarding of the children, we were literally relying on blanket laws, the laws
Yeah.
like things like your your rights, your general rights, your constitutional rights, you've got digital rights, but the rights of children online and their safety is like a niche. They have special
Yeah.
needs. Yeah. And so when we talk about an online child protection policy for kids, that is specifically for children, we're talking about policies that look at them as the voiceless, as young as they are, their cognitive ability, mental health, all
Yeah.
those things, and the
Yeah.
whole ecosystem. We're not just talking about one specific thing that addresses or one specific area, one specific organization or arm governing or looking at this. We've always said digital wellness, digital citizenship is everybody's business.
It is. It is.
Mhm.
Yeah, because when you look at the things that in a best practice sense, when you look at an online safety
Mhm.
protocol, it has
Yes.
to have certain elements that it has. And when you're looking at the top element, which is the best interest of the child, when you talk about
Mhm.
a child's best interest, it's not just about the parents or the school they go to or the church they attend or whatever values. There are things like you're saying where we need different stakeholders coming in. We
Yeah.
are seeing education playing a part, law enforcement, the parents themselves, medical professionals. It's a whole mix. Because one thing that I saw when I was in the regulatory space, in the broadcasting regulatory environment, as we were digitalizing and we were now seeing this convergence of technologies, one thing that always uh, kind of bothered me was that there was all this convergence happening, and yet we were not looking at any guardrails, any safety mechanisms. For a
Mm.
very long time, it was talking about connectivity, 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 getting more people onto the internet, and of course with good intentions, but in every venture we know there's the risk factor. We had the
Yeah.
things that we have to assess to see, okay, if we go in this direction, what are the things that we're possibly going to gain, and what are the things that we're possibly going to lose or compromise. And
Mhm.
those conversations were not had for a very long time,
Yes.
until I think maybe around 2013, when ITU then brought the Child Online Protection Guidelines for
Yes.
countries. And when you look at the time that it has taken for many countries, not just Zimbabwe, to catch up, to actually start prioritizing child online protection, it is a concern. It has been a concern, but we are happy that we are here. We're really glad that we are finally here.
Yes. We learned this from the girls, from the girls. I think they taught us this.
Yes.
Shout
Yeah.
outs to our girls out there. And you know, one of the things that constantly comes up to mind when we talk about online child protection is when we
Mhm.
talk about safeguarding, it's not just the technology in itself,
Mhm.
it's not the
Mhm.
responsibility of only the developer or someone who's putting,
Mhm.
but even the emerging stakeholders, the content creators, the content creators
Yeah.
putting when and sometimes sadly parents are putting children's information out there, and the
Yeah.
concern is the privacy issues.
Mhm.
The privacy issues can one of the things that we didn't mention is
Mhm.
that I'm a certified digital marketer, and Edith, our synergy is unique in the sense that I'm in the digital space, and in that aspect
Yeah.
Edith is law. She's a lawyer. So when you hear me infer or just asking her to speak into that, is because of her expertise in that aspect. And I always enjoy the way she explains privacy for children and their data protection. Because when we see parents, the intentions are good. The parents are proud, the grandparents are proud, the aunts, the uncles are proud.
Mhm.
What is the implication of putting your child's information online, especially the private, the personal identifying information?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
Mhm.
This is groundbreaking, Loveness, in that while the general consensus is that children have to be protected, it also now means it's not business as usual.
Yeah.
The things that we thought were okay, or we did because we didn't know better. Now, this is the time where we are shifting gear. We're looking at, when we say best interest of a child, what does that look like? That's part of it in the digital spaces, is protecting their privacy and their personally identifiable information. So you're looking at their photographs, you're talking about videos and so forth. And as parents, one thing that I don't know we are conditioned to do is when our child reaches a milestone, or when we're just feeling proud about something, or feeling good about sharing the good news about our child, we find ourselves posting it
Yeah.
on digital platforms, public platforms, and sometimes without considering, again, like I was saying, with the convergence of technologies, again, as parents, we're not considering the negatives. We're just looking at the
Yes.
positives. Oh, my child has done well. I'm happy.
Yes.
I want to share. And then there's the issue of child participation. children, especially in our context, our generation, growing up, you were sort of, my children were saying this the other day, that it's like you own us, like we are your property, and you can do with us as you
Whatever you
please.
want.
Yeah, but times have shifted. Times have shifted. I think our primary responsibility as parents is to protect, as we are, taking care of the child's needs. We have to also protect them. So when we do things like posting online, we are compromising them in that regard. And if you talk to the children, if you allow them to participate in this practice of yours of filming them or photographing and then uploading, many of them will tell you that they're not, they would rather you didn't. And we've had so many sessions. I remember one young boy saying, it was my birthday. My dad just barged into my room, took a video, and was shouting, "Happy birthday, happy birthday." And for me, I was not impressed. I was not happy.
Mm, mm.
I was not grateful for that gesture because I knew that the next thing he's going to do is he's going to upload it onto a public social media space, and that story keeps recurring. So, uh, as far as privacy and data protection, it's no longer business as usual. We have to change how we do it, and maybe we can even go to the issue of schools, Loveness.
Yeah, okay. Actually, you read my mind. I was going to the issue of schools because when we put our children, as parents, when we take your child to school, you've got your intentions, and the school also has its own intentions. Whilst both have good intentions, sometimes the school will take your child's picture and put it onto their social media platforms. And whilst they're doing that, we cannot trust every player in the internet space. We've got bad actors, people. We have people who harvest our children's pictures, then use them, nudify them, use them for pornographic material, and this becomes your child's digital footprint. And so we
Exactly.
have this is an emerging cyber crime that has
Mm-hmm.
started. I think in the last few months, if you've been following, if I think if you check our digital footprint, we created a breaking news video about it. But they harvested the pictures of children in the UK, about
Mm-hmm.
150 pictures, and then started sextorting the school to say, pay us so
The
that we
kids.
cannot pictures of your children.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, because of robust ecosystems and support around safeguarding of children, they had institutions and organizations, watchdogs, that came through, took those pictures, tagged them so that they are not usable, whether they are manipulated, changed, or whatever
Yeah.
the case may be. They, even if you upload them, they will try and upload them, they will not, they just won't work. So,
Yeah.
do we have those robust systems? And I've seen parents have been participating with that, where a child's full name is given, their results, everything is there, the school badge, the
Mm.
yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I think maybe it's time for us to really think. If you continue and you say you're fine with it, then yeah, you're fine with it.
Yeah.
Then
No.
people are just there to advise and to raise their hands, saying, let's look at it again. And I know last time you raised an important factor of, okay, what do I do when my child is left to school and they still have my children's images?
Sorry, Loveness. When my child has.
If your child is left to school, what happens to the old images?
Oh yeah, yes, yes. Because we do have the right to deletion of our footprint, and that's another area. I was actually going to say, after you, that we are now going beyond just the policy. We're going to go into specific child online protection laws. And one of the things that I foresee happening is that the digital right to deletion is going to be enforced. And from our experience talking to many schools, they don't have social media or 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 online, um, what you call footprint policies in place. Like as we speak, many of them don't have those child online safety policies at schools. So that's probably why a lot of schools didn't think about the dangers behind posting those images, didn't think about the rights of those children to have those pictures removed when they leave the institution. You'll find, I've seen some schools, way after a child has left the school, maybe this was in primary school and they're now in university or even working, but that picture is still on billboards, it's still on
Yes.
their social media adverts, and all that. There is the issue also of that person's intellectual property in the form of their face, and the payment for royalties for the use of their image for promoting your school. So there are so many elements that come now with social media. Are you protecting the privacy and data of children? Where there's consent to use the images, when you promote your school, how are you compensating the people that have consented to the use of their images? And where someone leaves that institution, what do you do with that data? And also, as we're speaking about schools, there are the EdTech services that
Yes.
some
Yes.
schools are now providing. So if we're using iPads or using any digital platform for the sake of learning or enhancing the learning experience, how are we protecting the data and privacy as well of
Yes.
children? Who is going to be in charge of the data that is collected? What do they do with it? There's just a lot of questions. So, just to summarize on that, whatever institution we are that deals with children, whether it's a family institution, a religious institution, educational, or whatever the case, we are now also going beyond just getting consent
Yeah.
to use people's images, especially children, because I foresee a legal framework that is going to go much deeper into how we're using this personally identifiable information.
Mhm. And I think also we need to highlight that when you're talking about consent, it's not that general slip that you just sign. Do you consent to? You ask the child, take a picture. Can we use this child on social media? No, be enlightened. Understand what it means for your child's picture to be online. Is it expressed? Are you educated? Do you know what it means? What are you consenting to? What are the implications of having your child online? All these things must be laid out, and as a parent, you must be clear.
Yeah.
I know that for me, my kids at some point they're like, don't put us anywhere, mommy. We see you on social media, but I don't know if we're sure if you want to do it. And then recently, I was fine with that because I was happy. It's less stress for me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then now they're like, mommy, don't you want us to also come out somewhere? And I sit down with them and I explain to them this is what's going to happen. And I don't know if people are doing that with the kids,
Yeah.
especially with the cases that are coming out of children who grew up being flighted online with
Yes.
a long digital footprint from when they were a fetus in the stomach. Yeah, so I think that's something that we really need to think about. So,
Yeah.
want to say something? Please go ahead.
No, I was just going to add on to say yes, there's definitely need for informed consent, but as we also go a little bit deeper into it, when you look at consent, so you're a parent, you've given the school consent, they've informed you, like Loveness was saying, and you're making this decision in an informed manner. But you need to go a step further and look at the actual platform. What are the
Yes.
terms and conditions and privacy policies of that platform? Is that platform going to do the things that you and the school agreed in as far as protecting your child's image? Some of the platforms are using images and stuff that we posted to train their AI. As a
Yes.
parent, Are you okay with that? And is your child also on board with that? That's what I was just going to also add, Loveness.
Yeah, that's so valuable. That's just so valuable because sometimes when you think about consent, you just think about me and the school,
Mhm.
me and the school. But you know those terms and conditions that we are not reading. We just say accept,
Yeah, accept,
just
accept.
click accept, so that you've got access to it. I think those are some of the issues that um
Mhm.
the days coming up will also address. Then I was thinking about us going forward and talking about what are the foundational things for an effective online child protection policy. And one of
Mhm.
the things that we need to also just be open and transparent about is we haven't seen the policy and what it looks like, and we're really looking forward to that. It's something that we're looking forward to. But then we just wanted to celebrate this landmark
Mhm.
and really enjoy it for what it is.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
what do you think are the key things that we're expecting this to find or for it to do for us as
Okay.
people in the safeguarding industry?
Yeah. So we had the privilege to participate in the review of the policy, which we assume was presented to cabinet. And as we were doing that, we were looking at certain frameworks or certain principles rather that should typically be in a child online protection framework. So we talked about the best interest of the child before.
Yes.
Whatever we are doing, we should really measure, is it going to work more for the child, or is it for our
Yes.
own validation and our own feel good
Yes.
vibes?
Mhm.
The other thing is privacy and data protection, as we spoke about. Then there's the issue of child participation. This one we
Yes.
must not leave out. Do you know why? Because, like for us, what has made our work more powerful has been those interactions with the young people, getting to
Yes.
hear their point of view. And you find a lot of them actually have brilliant ideas. Also, for those who have experienced harm, it's easier to hear from them what types of harm they've
Yes.
experienced. If you look at context, the things that children in the developed world have exposure to is very different from what Zimbabwean or African children have been exposed to. So having the children participate as we craft laws, as we craft policy, and I was happy one of the what are those called, where they invited the community to input into the child online protection
Yes.
policy was done with University of Zimbabwe students who are representing the youth in also giving their input. So you need that child participation. We need to also look at things to do with the accountability of the platforms. And here, when it goes beyond social media platforms, we are
Yes.
looking into things like gaming, we're looking into entertainment, we're looking into the entire internet and what
Yes.
children are exposed to. Is there any form of transparency and accountability in the arena of protecting children? The issue of gender sensitivity, because as
Yes.
we have been doing our work, we are seeing more and more harms are being perpetrated against the girl child or the women. And so that framework has to look at it as a standalone pillar. Why? Because while we're pushing for digital skills and connectivity, there are women and girls who have opted out of participating in digital spaces. And the question that we always ask is connectivity to what? What are
The
we
one.
giving connectivity
Yeah.
to? For them to be called names, for them to be degraded, for embarrassing moments to be captured and shared far and wide. Is that what we are advancing them to participate in? So as if we don't pay attention to those kind of protections that speak specifically to women and girls, we run the risk of maintaining that status quo where there's lower participation and
Mhm.
and and then there's the issue also of multi-stakeholder collaboration. We
Yes.
speak about having everyone participating. So what does that look like? It goes beyond the Ministry of ICT, Postal and Courier Services, or the regulator, or the policymakers. It's about the person in the rural areas. It's about the child in the classroom, the educator, everyone coming together. And so those are the things that we are looking at um, in the space of a framework that is going to be robust. And then there are
Mhm.
things to do up with who are we talking about when we say a child? Because when you look
Yeah.
at the definitions, constitution will have a certain age, and just to touch a little bit on social media bans, which are being proposed across the world, most of them are fixing the age at 16. But
Yes.
we know that people become adults at 18 in some aspects. And I think that's a mistake that was created when social media itself was introduced, because
Yeah.
social media had 13 as the age range, or the starting age for access to social media. But have we considered the overarching aspects of age? Does that mean when a person turns 16, they automatically know how to be safe and responsible online? Does that mean that an 18-year-old knows what they are doing online? Does that mean a 13-year-old cannot handle themselves in digital spaces or on social media? All those questions have to be considered as we're looking at who we're going to be covering in this policy or in the legal systems that we're going to come up with. And then the type of environments, what environments are we actually looking at? Are we going
Mm.
to focus only on social media?
Mhm. Mhm.
And when we talk about social media, are we going to incorporate every aspect of it? Or there's certain areas or platforms that we're going to leave out?
Mhm. Mhm.
Considering, like in our situation in Zimbabwe, where WhatsApp is more than just for communicating, it can be a learning platform. That's where some children's homework is shared. That's where parents have communities to discuss children's education with their
Yeah.
educator. So context is very important at this stage. In the type of environments that our people frequently access, our children frequently access, is also very, very important.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think those for me are the, and then there are other things that we are finding that are coming up. Speaking of education, the educational technologies themselves, we do
Yes.
not find them as social media. And yet we know from our experience that during COVID, when children were using Google Classroom as an example, they were communicating. They were bullying each other on those platforms. They were sharing intimate images and pornographic material on
Mhm.
Google Classroom. So, as we are talking about environments and digital platforms, we need to also get a little bit deeper into the specifics of those platforms, the specifics of gaming environments, the specifics of educational technologies, the specifics of certain platforms that have multiple use cases. Yeah.
And I think these are like really, really pertinent issues. Because for me, I was like, okay, fine, let me write down. I know I'll take you, I will go back a little bit. I'll take you back a little bit on some of the things that you already mentioned, but I'd love to just speak into some of those things, like issues around enforceability, about on some of the issues when we talk about something like the social media ban. How are we going to enforce the ban? What will it look like? Is it just a blanket term to say, okay, if you're 16, you can't go on social media anymore? How will it look like? And I feel like if we're going to go that route, Schools, what will it look like since we use WhatsApp for EdTech?
Mm-hmm.
Um, does it mean what measures are we going to put in place if you're going to have children getting their homework on a class WhatsApp group? How are we going to govern that? And how are we going to know someone is how age verification issues then become an issue? How are we going to do that? We now know like Australia is now coming back to us with feedback on how they are doing with their ban. And this is when they start saying, okay, fine, you know what, the kids are actually bypassing, some of them are lying about their ages, others are using VPNs to go on, others are even, then you said, oh, I'm not allowed on social media, so I'll go on YouTube, so I'll do the gaming, and some of them will even get into the dark web, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, what are we saying? And so there are some issues in terms of enforceability, and we were told through our cybercrime strategic partner that surveillance is not, it's not allowed, but we can monitor. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
know what levels, whether there are various access levels depending on who's doing what. I'm not going to go there. And then when we're
Yeah.
talking about reporting, one of the main issues that have come up consistently is that how, what do you do when you see something wrong? Where do
Mm-hmm.
you go? What's the process like?
Mm-hmm.
One of the first times when I had to experience that was when, I think years ago, my son, okay, now I'm trying to work backwards. It could have been maybe eight or so years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a WhatsApp group. I had been added there. It was supposed to be for advertising. And whilst I was advertising, whilst I was waiting for the adverts, I remember the administrator advertising a group for child pornographic material. A chill went down my spine. I couldn't believe, when you hear about child sexual abuse material, um, going out there, and then you actually meet one of the people who are actually pushing that right in your country. I was shocked. I went into their inbox and I was polite at first and I said, you know what? Take that down. There is no country where this is legal. And then he went on to, he didn't respond well. And then I said, I'm going further with this. And do you know that I was taken out of that group. And then I was so outraged. I was like, okay, fine. The next time when I need to go to the police station. And I went to a police station and I made the report. I will not share the experience of doing that report. They were baffled. Okay, so what's your problem? Where do you come in? And then they had to call in someone else so that I could explain to them. And they said, no, she's saying something valid. And they did what they needed to do, and we opened the docket. But if I tell you that if right now someone is experiencing something, some of the children, they don't know where to go. They are suffering quietly, and which is something really scary. They would rather stick it out than actually tell someone. And it's one of the things that we've been encouraging them to do. Tell someone,
Mm-hmm.
don't keep it in. And having an online child protection policy, I am looking forward to some sort of reporting or some sort of workflow in terms of, okay, fine, this has gone wrong. How do we fix it? And then now the other issue is the emerging cybercrime.
Mm-hmm.
The recent one, not recent really, I don't want to bring it up, but it was cyber flashing. And this person amassed a massive following before anything happened on a public platform. Before anything happened, now, right now, as we are doing our research and checks, because that's what we do, you will find out that other women that are now taking that on because they are so inspired by what they saw, the following, they,
You're
there are
getting
some
paid.
brands, yeah, some brands actually called this individual to become a brand ambassador to come. I don't know, but I just feel like these are the issues that we are looking forward to solving. as part of,
Yeah.
and I know that the policy on its own, the child protection policy, the online protection policy on its own will not work. I know that there are other statutory instruments, other acts, and other things that need to be in place so that there's weight to it. But this is definitely a step in the right direction. And then
Definitely.
also, curriculum inclusion, you touched on that. We
Mhm.
need media literacy, digital media literacy from a young age. Why? Because these children are going and using the tech and being given the technology to pacify them. And sometimes we need, as parents, as guardians, as even the children themselves, at a very young age, they must have digital media literacy within the curriculum
Mm.
so that they are safe. Because this thing of saying make a mistake and then we're going to try and fix it later, I don't know either. That one, I'm
Yeah.
going to ask you to say something there, you know.
Yeah. We, we are seeing that the rate at which innovation is moving is where there's that build quickly and you can even break things, but you keep going and you go fast and you go far. But one of the things that we are seeing now with all that, we love the innovation. We are we are using a lot of the platforms and systems. But when you look at children's online protection now, with emerging technology, with emerging advancements, we are also seeing emerging harms and emerging crimes, like you're saying. Like when you look at artificial intelligence, suddenly
Yeah.
now we have the deep fakes and we have more and more cyber offenders.
Mhm.
You know, we've gone to schools where the feedback or the initial briefing is that these young people are the ones who are causing more offenses against each other than any external person, you know.
Mhm.
And because now we have these systems that allow us to be very creative in negative or positive ways at I don't even know what speed. I don't like just like that, you've
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
you're suddenly creating memes and TikToks and things like that. But to what end? So when you mention digital literacy, I'd also add AI literacy because they need to know how to use the AI in a responsible and productive and safe manner as well. Then you've got things to do with gaming. So linked to gaming, we've got the virtual reality aspect.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
these metaverse platforms where it's not the internet or the social media as we know it. We are now getting into a more immersed state
Mhm.
where even in the digital rights realm is it's,
Becomes
it's shaking things a bit because when you create that avatar and it's me, I have an avatar, my digital twin. Does that digital twin have rights? How do I
yeah.
enforce
That's a big
them?
question. And this question has been there since around 2010, 2011, when we
Yes,
started talking about avatars.
yes. And so now, in the context of a child online protection framework, are we looking into those emerging technologies or are we stopping ourselves at what we know or what we have experienced on a personal level, as adults? That's why I mentioned the importance of involving children. They will tell you these things, they will take you through their own experiences, and you'll be able to help them more. And then when you're looking at accountability, when you look at these frameworks that we have to be a little bit bolder. For many years, big tech has not
Yes.
been accountable to anyone for anything. And in recent years, we've seen uh, different players being brought before the US Senate to be answerable for the effect and impact of their platforms on young people's mental health and physical health and so on. Now, as African, as Zimbabwean regulators, policymakers, parents, the entire ecosystem, it's time that we also have a set of standards of what we expect from those tech companies. When I was at the Broadcasting Authority of Zimbabwe, one thing that I remember very well was that we had a section in the Broadcasting Act that spoke to external broadcasting.
Yes.
So simply something that was stating that if your material is able to reach Zimbabwean citizens, if you are able to broadcast anything to Zimbabwean citizens by whatever means, through whatever device, you have an obligation to comply with certain standards. You also have an obligation to be licensed. And those licenses came with license conditions that you had to abide by, right? And I always ask myself, where did that principle go when we converged to the technologies? Why is it that now anyone from wherever can broadcast something onto our gadgets through our telecommunications companies, and children access those things and children experience harm because of it? And yet no one is accountable. So there are standards that should, beyond the content creator, we're looking at the person who's hosting the platform, the person who's disseminating the platform through the through their systems. For example, our telecoms companies.
Mhm.
So we all have to play our part. We all have to be held accountable. And also the parents, the one who's buying the gadgets and who's paying maybe for the Wi-Fi or the data. Everyone has to be held accountable in terms of how far they are going to protect it. And then, of course, we're not going to leave the children themselves out. When you are a cyber offender, a young cyber offender, you also have to be held accountable. You know,
Mhm.
yeah. So uh, I think that's that's what I would say for that, Loveness. But when you spoke about victims, the ability to report, the ability to
Yes.
receive support, that's something that also touched me because I remember those sessions that we've had with the young people,
Yes.
especially the girls when we have
Very
to put things by themselves. And you know, you will ask them, okay, so this happened to you. What did you do about it? And they will say nothing. I cried and just tried to ignore it. The policy should open the door for young people who are victims to be able to report, and the reports it has to be confidential. It has to be well investigated, and just like the victim friendly aspects that we
Yes.
find that within our law enforcement, there has to be a component of social media or online protection for the victims there. And
Mhm.
then beyond that, we're looking at things like psychosocial support, the family support. Some will need therapy, others will need legal counsel to assist them to if they need to sue someone.
Or
Yeah, like the mom in the United States whose
yes.
son took his life after an interaction with an AI companion. Now she's had the right to sue. And you know, one thing that I missed, Loveness, was we're seeing, okay, she was able to sue this AI company. The parents of the children who experience social media harms have been able to take their issues to Congress in the US. But
Yes.
but it's protecting the United States
Yes. Yes.
children.
I was just about to say that. Even
Mm,
when you look at put down research, I
mhm,
was about to I also wanted to say that when you look at the statistics, when you look at why social media, Where are we coming from? No, we will go, we are going to come up with this. We are going to start a series where we explain to you and break down where we are coming. And some people have even said we need to have the same warning that is on tobacco in terms of use and the dangers. We need something like that for the internet. And the reason being that, the impact, cognitive impact, the neuroimaging is showing that children are losing white matter because of scrolling. The health factors, the sight, what's it called, these emerging issues, the buffalo back, carpal tunnel, their less fine motor skills, children who have got no grip, and it's just, I think, a whole lot of things that need to be looked at.
Yeah.
And they are basing what they are doing based on statistics, and they have knowledge. And what we are doing is borrowing some of those statistics to make our decisions. But I'm looking forward to some sort of R&D, or some sort of stats in terms of, okay, fine, what's the cognitive implication or the impact of technology in terms of our students. I remember this one school that we went to, and we were doing the upper six and the lower six. And do you still remember what the senior teacher said? She says, by when we compare all the years of seniors, this group, this class is the most immature
Yeah.
class. Mm. And which brings us back to the point that you mentioned, that we're always saying, when parents come to us and say, okay, fine, so what's the right age? Or when the children say, what's the right age? Is it really an age thing, or it's a knowledge thing? It's a capacity thing. We've got 18-year-olds, we've got 25-year-olds, we've got 40-year-olds, where we still have to explain issues around what is right and what is wrong to post on a public forum. We've got organizations that will take a child's video and push it online. A girl take a video of a young girl, unsuspecting, she's going about her business. They capture that one. She becomes the news and is trending for the wrong things. So I just feel like, this online child protection policy should it covers a whole lot of other things.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to also add on something that we recently discovered, is that it's not just social media, it's applications as well. Recently, there was a trending video of a mom who had asked a taxi driver to bring her child home, and then this taxi driver the next day reaches out to a 15-year-old to say, I want to see you. And she was
It was an aunt.
it was an
Yeah.
aunt, yeah.
Yeah.
Who was speaking in Shona, and I guess auntie is mommy, auntie in our culture. So she told her niece, tell him to come. And when he came, he parked his car elsewhere. When he came, she discovered that no, he discovered that it was the aunt at the door, and there was a fracas in the house, and she recorded it and shared that information. So I just think that when we talk about child online protection, it must go beyond the gaming, must go beyond social media, the ed tech. It has to be well rounded to also cover issues around the application. If you work with children, if you pick up a child, if you if you carry children, ferry children, if you are in that ecosystem, we are looking forward to a child online protection policy
It's
that
really
covers
okay.
children during that time. And then also the last thing I think for me that I really wanted to go home about is our expectation in terms of law enforcement and coming up, an all-inclusive safeguarding body that represents everyone's interests, the education, the enforcement, like you've already mentioned. For me, I think that one is a big one. We cannot even run away from that. Everybody has to put their heads to the plow.
Yeah, most definitely. I think we made aware of the fact that some of the reports have been made to our local law enforcement, the Zimbabwe Republic Police. Some of the reports have been made to Childline. Some of them have been made to Portras as the regulator. We receive reports as well. And so instead of having the pillars, the different secluded organizations doing whatever they are doing, I think there's merit in having one body that, like you were
Yes.
saying, that will look at the historical issues. The reports that we've been having a year or two ago or 20 years ago are completely different from the reports that are coming on now. So it's also important to put our heads together, get out of the silos, work together, and maybe have a referral system. What happens when this happens? Who's the best uh, body to deal with this particular thing? Who can do that? We need different professions as well supporting it. We
Yeah, I think we've just lost her briefly there. And I'm in agreement, and it's something that we've always spoken about with Edith, that we do need various players in within the child's ecosystem to come forth and just do what needs to be done. Why? Because when you look at a child experiencing digital harm on any one occasion, it is rare that one person can actually solve the entire problem. We'll look at the internet service provider, we'll look at the law enforcement, we'll look at various players. We'll even look at chiropractors. We'll look at mental health, the psychiatrists, the counselors. If she's experiencing certain things, some of them will lead to clinical depression. We need those people to come forth. And what we've also started advocating for is so that we don't only have a victim focused approach, but also the perpetrator, they may need rehabilitation. What put them in that position in the first place? you know so I think these are some of the issues that we wanted to talk to you about. Edith, I had lost you for a moment there. Are you back? Okay. So when we talk about the online child protection policy, these are the things that we're looking forward to. Edith, are you back? Okay. These are the things that we're looking forward to. These are the things that we are expecting. These are the things that we are so excited about and actually hoping to see as a nation. Where are we going? Why? Because we stand to lose a whole generation of young people to take to, and they need us to come in and stand and to fill that gap. Parental care, guidance, support, but what is happening right now, some of the systems that are in place are leaving them vulnerable to navigate the online space. It's almost like, okay, fine, you've got access to the data, and we're pushing access, but what guardrails are there so that they are safe online? So those are some of the things that we wanted to talk about. I think for us, we are beyond excited that at least we have a policy as a nation that will open doors for us to do so much more, to have so much more engagement, to have strategic partnerships, and so that these things that we mentioned, issues around gender mapping, gender equality, issues around the child's best interest, always the child's best interest. I think it's so key. And if we can have a nation or natives, digital natives that agree and actually adhere to some of those things and principles in terms of safeguarding these children and keeping them safe online. Imagine everybody coming together, the content creator, the educator, the schools, the counselors, the law enforcement, the parents themselves. Because I know, and I understand. I'm a parent as well. And sometimes when we're speaking to you, we are also speaking to ourselves. We are also parents. So when we are speaking to parents and they feel like we need And we want them to be part of the solution. We don't want them to end up, like in a place where they they are stranded. They are stranded because you made this mistake. Your child is in a compromising situation. You could have done something to help your child, but as a parent you made this decision to start exposing your child earlier on. And we don't want people to learn the hard way, even as a parent, because most of the time our children's pictures, yes, the schools put them out, but parents have a part to play. Welcome back, Eden. I lost you for a moment there.
Thanks. The internet got jealous. Yeah,
Yes.
no, yeah, I think for me, the final words that I would share is that when when this announcement came out about our Zimbabwe child online protection policy having passed in cabinet, I think there was a bit of a I would call it misinformation or misunderstanding about what
Yes.
it means to have a child online protection policy. It is not just about social media bans. Yes, those are trending right now, but there's the greater picture. That's why we took all this time to just break it down in terms of the expectations we have with the experiences that we have. And so if we think that a social media ban is going to be an easy way of protecting children online, where as parents we don't have to lift our finger, in schools
Mhm.
we don't take responsibility, and we've seen this very disturbing um, facet of the attitude that schools have had, that
Yeah.
if it's happening outside our school walls or outside the gate, it
Yeah.
does not concern us. And yet we have a responsibility as educators to teach digital media or digital citizenship skills. And we have a duty as parents to also do the same. In the church, there's a duty to do the same. And it's just reaches to every person who is involved in a child's ecosystem. And then within the families, maybe it's something that we'll get into at another point, but just also highlight that beyond the parents compromising a child's personally identifiable information, we have cousins, we have aunts and uncles, extended family, grandparents, and also the helpers, the people that we leave the children
Yeah, so she was talking about the helpers. They need to know how, because one of the things that I needed to also put in there, I was going to mention it once she was done, is do you have, when a helper comes through to come and help you, or in terms of childcare or keeping the house clean, do you have a policy that protects your child from accidental exposure? One of the leading factors or ways in which children get access to adult or inappropriate content is by accessing an adult's device. And some of this access is given through some of the people that then surround us. She spoke about siblings. We've got aunts, uncles. And especially the childminder, the helper. Sorry, please go on, Edith.
No, I think you wrapped it up. Yeah, so I was just going to end by saying, as a child online protection uh, framework, yes, it's coming from government, but it is not the responsibility of government alone. It is an all-encompassing duty and responsibility that we have as the people who are in that child's ecosystem, and the child themselves has to be capacitated and educated on their own role in keeping themselves safe and keeping other children safe. We talked about the example of people recording each other, and sometimes without knowledge. A lot of young people are doing that in the school dorm, in the showers, in classroom. They'll take photos and videos of each other, and they create stickers and memes and
Mhm.
things that they think are funny. But as we combine the cyber and data protection law and any other law that is coming in the area of child online protection, all these things will become criminal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of it is also about educating ourselves and being responsible digital citizens who respect the rights and responsibilities of others.
Mhm. Wow, what a wonderful conclusion. I just wanted to also then, my parting remarks is some of the things that we're talking about, you may not see them because we now have what we call hyper personalized feeds coming right from your Google search, even your social media platform. If you were to come to my Google, you'll see, my interest in digital wellness and digital citizenship, digital rights, and even things like that, your AI and all that. But if you are someone who's interested in baking cakes, and that's what you will see. And so your child has got a different feed from yours. And so some of the things that they're seeing, you may never see them. You'll think, no, what they're seeing represents the whole of the internet. No, they have different feed. And some of these platforms will know that your child is just 13 and above, but they will show them inappropriate ads. They will still, the suggested information and content will not be the right type of content for someone that age. And so this is what we are fighting for. This is what we're being. That's why we stay in the game, because we know that if we relax, if we just relax, since the big tech may not have our ear inclined to us, the best thing is for us to educate you as part of the ecosystem, for the child to actually do your part, educating, raising awareness, whatever it takes, even just sharing what we have shared with you. It is important. There are people out there that have no idea or clue what we are talking about. And it takes you taking that responsibility before you share your next joke, before you share your next interesting gossip, is to also share what we've spoken about, because we just don't want your child to be the statistic. And let's run away from just concerning ourselves with our immediate children. These children do not exist in a vacuum. The more of your ecosystem and community know this and acknowledge this and give to it, the safer your child will be. So thank you so much for listening to us. We have a few projects that we are running that we believe will be beneficial to you as part of our ecosystem. And I will give over to Edith to talk about some of our projects.
Thank you, Loveness. In April, we started a focus group for girls in ICT, and that one is a lot about empowering young women, girls who would like to get into the ICT space. And we have been giving them inspiration based on our own backgrounds and experiences. Loveness did not start in digital, in the digital field. I didn't start there, but we have found um, ways to use the skills that we already had to to build these this work that we now do. So this is something that we've been working with young girls, empowering them also about their digital rights and responsibilities. And so if you've got a girl that you think could benefit from that, you're welcome to join us.
Yes, so if you have a young girl, a young lady who's interested in getting into the ICT space, we have a focus group, and our desire is for us to support them, not just in the technical aspects of the ICT space, but what they are experiencing in that internet space. It has been so enlightening interacting with the ladies, interacting with the girls, and seeing where we can support them. One of the things that we constantly acknowledge with Edith as co-founders of Digital Wellness Africa is that the world the young people are living in right now versus what we grew up in are two totally different environments. I mean, we can't even begin to relate. So we push for engagement. We always want to hear what the young people are going through. We don't want to speak at them, and hence you'll find us always, if you call us, if you interact with us, if you get used to us, you will know that we want to hear what the young person is saying. What are they going through? So this Growth in ICT focus group was just such an amazing eye opener. We had very energetic young ladies, and we are going to still continue to run with them. Um, all of the projects that we're going to talk about, I'll put the links in the comments so that you can have a look and see. Welcome back, Edith. I've spoken about the girls in ICT. I don't know if you want to continue with the other project.
All right, thanks, Loveness. The other one that we did was in May. We started a for moms by moms focus group as well. And that one, you know, for us, we come from a Christian background, and we have done a lot in terms of the work of protecting children online, and we continue to commit ourselves to doing more. But we know that we cannot do it alone. So we invite moms who want to be part of that community where we teach different skills and also inform you about things that are developing in the digital spaces, things that as parents might not have access to. And then we also have action items so that we're taking daily steps to do something linked to the lesson that we would have shared. And then as we go forward, we continue to also pray for our children as they are in digital spaces, knowing that we cannot possibly know everything about what they are doing or who they're in contact with. And so we give it to a higher power for them to be protected, for them to have discernment, and to make good choices, to make the right choices when they're online. And then we've also established a similar focus group this June for dads. And so we're running this boot camp for the 30 days of June for fathers and any male guardians, uncles, anyone who is living or working with children. And so also those links will be shared for those for you to register and be part of those communities. And as we go forward, we have noted that beyond social media and gaming, there's the entertainment world. And when we look at platforms like Netflix, which, by the way, one of their top execs is known to have said that the only thing that competes with
Yes.
Netflix is sleep. It's sleep. That's the only thing that is competing with Netflix. So what we are looking at doing is to also invite you to watch some of the programming that is on Netflix that speaks to or that is connected to the work that we are trying to do together as parents. You know, we are also mothers, we are parents, and there are things that we continue to learn through our own children. But the digital media space also has those lessons that we can learn from what children are experiencing, things that our children may never tell us
Yeah.
directly. So we've
Yeah.
got a watch party coming up. Loveness, maybe you can speak to the watch party.
So we have one of the topics that we've been talking about, especially with the dads, because I believe that they have a unique voice pertaining child online protection. And so there's a documentary, there's a concept called the manosphere. The manosphere is an ecosystem of people who it's not like who start off right. They feed the young men. It's specifically for the young men. They will young men who are driven either to have to get into shape, business, all these good things, driven things, the things that you say, oh, at least my son, my nephew, my grandson, he's driven, he's working out, he's doing all these amazing things. And then at some point, this conversation shifts and becomes toxic. And these people use the manosphere influencers, use their influence. They have a huge following to then become toxic. They start sharing a message which degrades or just put women and girls in an interesting position and light where there's dominance, and dominance not in a good way, but in a very toxic way. So there's a documentary where a gentleman actually went inside that manosphere into one of the most renowned influencers, and then went and had conversations with them. I must warn you that some of the language there and the content is quite strong. Well, if you're not used to it, but you need to come and see, because this is what your children are experiencing. This is what your children are seeing. This is what your young men, it's not just the children, but the young men, this is what they're actually being exposed to. And you as a parent, as a guardian, as a male guardian, you need to know what it's all about. But because we're talking about it in the dad space, we also would like to invite the moms, the female guardians, the grandmothers, the aunts, the rich aunties come and also have discussions about it. And so we are hosting the Manosphere discussion after you've watched the documentary. We're hosting it this Saturday, the 20th, at 7:30. Yeah, I think I got the times out. The time I got it right, 7:30 up to 8:30, and we're just discussing. So we are really excited about this, and we will have more of these coming up, like Edith has said.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah.
yeah,
I don't
yeah. I
know if
think
you feel anything.
yeah, I think for now that those are some of the top things that we're doing. There's more happening, but we'll be sharing as we go along. And we
Yeah.
really hope you join our communities. They've been very enlightening also for us as we get to learn also from the moms and the dads and the girls what the experiences are.
Mhm. And if at any point in time you feel like you want to get involved in whatever capacity in the work that we do, please reach out to us.
Yeah,
And so the contacts again, I'll put them in the comments. The links to some of these projects, we're going to put them also in the comments. It was so good, us coming here to finally have this discussion.
yeah,
Yeah, thank you
absolutely,
so much.
absolutely.
So we'll see you until the next time, when you come back again with something else for you, that is pertinent concerning safeguarding children. Bye.
Bye. See you soon.